All right, we're getting ready to come out.
Sources of information, don't you?
It's just not something we need this next year.
All right, we're out of executive. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Morrison, second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Let the record reflect no action was taken. Ma'am? Mr. Morrison passed it, and Mr. Cross seconded it. And everybody was in favor of it. All right, Mr. Schley, would you be so kind to take us from here?
We've got a couple of matters that are additional business that we would appreciate your adding. One being, have they already moved to add yet? Motion to add the consideration of 2 resolutions to be submitted to CMPDD for the purpose of the MPO consideration, the Jackson Metropolitan Planning Organization consideration of 2 Rankin County related projects, one being Gunner Road Extension, the other being Spillway Road Overlay. We would ask that that be added to the agenda.
Is there a motion by Mr. Morrison, second Mr. Cross? All in favor, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve by Mr. Cross, second Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
On both projects, we'll take them independently. The Gunner Road Extension project, we are asking for authority to execute a resolution that will include an amount representative of a match by Rankin County of 50% of total eligible project funding through the MPO, 50% on the Gunner Road Extension. The second project, Spillway Road Overlay, likewise, we're asking for permission to complete the required resolution and the authority of the board to include an amount of the Rankin County's match to the Spillway Road Overlay project of 50% of total eligible project funding.
Is there a motion to approve? I think I got it ahead of myself, but motion Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Second item for additional business that I would ask be added is consideration of a resolution that establishes a temporary moratorium on construction, activity, issuance of privilege licenses, building permits, 911 addresses, authorization for release of utilities, inspections, authorizations for installation of culverts or any other activity in an area that is located within 1 mile of the present corporate limit of the town of Puckett, Mississippi.
That's to add, along with an authority to publish a notice of public hearing on that same temporary moratorium, a date certain in the future that you will select so that this board will have an opportunity to consider whether to extend that moratorium beyond a particular date.
Motion to add. Second.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. We add that to the agenda. Motion by Mr. Bishop to Mr. Morrison to approve. Mr. Bishop second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay, that was to add.
That was approved.
Okay, so we approved it. If I may, for the purpose of clarity of the record, I'd like to explain that the purpose behind this is to give Rankin County an opportunity to work with the town of Puckett, who, by the way, is in the process now of documenting their approval of the action that the board just took. And they are anxious to want to work with the county concerning this particular area that obviously substantially affects the town of Puckett. The basis behind this action is that recently this board worked with the town of Puckett in the approval of the very first platted subdivision ever for the town of Puckett. And it came to light to us that there are a number of developments. We have been approached by a number of real estate developers. I can think of one right now that has at their disposal over 400 acres in one site that is very near the town of Puckett, that has been advertising that site for real estate development activity. And so out of an abundance of caution,
Jay, appreciate it.
and at the request of Puckett, we are going to look at our comprehensive plan and our zoning ordinance and our official zoning map as it relates to that 1 mile buffer area around the town of Puckett. What we want to focus on is there a need right now for the county since that's unincorporated county, but it's in the path of growth for Puckett, is there a need for us to make adjustments to our zoning ordinance, our zoning map, and our comprehensive plan as it relates to those parcels that are contiguous? We feel like there's probably a need for some transitional zoning, and that means that there's more than likely going to be a need for us to make an adjustment to our zoning ordinance. And the purpose of the moratorium, therefore, is to essentially keep the status quo until such time as we can figure out what we need to do from a planning standpoint. So all of those things that you have just put a halt to will help us to control any activity that would be designed to try to get ahead of the planning purpose. Okay?
Fair enough. Thank you. What else?
Just wanted to make sure that was clear on the record.
All right.
We have the addition of the increase for the tax collectors employees that received the $2,000 for certification classes but did not receive the $750 cost of living raise.
That was included the tax assessor and collector?
I only have the tax collector, but if you would like to.
How many is in the tax collector?
Tax
3? How many?
collector is,
3 people?
no, tax collectors.
I mean, no, tax.
Assessors.
Assessor, he said
Right.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I would say we include the assessor and
Okay,
collector.
One of those in the tax assessors is considered a 3/4 time employee, not a full-time employee, which are usually not eligible, but
Okay.
that is,
Then
Well, if they're not.
we keep it that way.
okay.
We keep it
So
that
it
way.
would be 2 out of the
Right.
tax assessors.
I make a motion, we add that to the agenda.
Look who left.
Bishop.
Second.
Look who left.
Second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I'll make the motion to approve. Second by Mr. Gaines. Second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign.
I'll abstain. How about that?
All right. 3 in favor,
For
1
Bishop.
abstention. What else, Ms. Oster?
Gentlemen, if I may, I forgot to ask y'all for the date to set the public hearing on the temporary moratorium. I apologize. I mentioned that we would have a public hearing, but we need to decide on a date. And typically, for temporary moratoria, that may affect your zoning ordinance, which have their own sets of public hearing requirements and dates. May I suggest that we look at a date that's at least 6 months out to set this hearing?
And that's the 6-month window there. At the end of the 6 months, that's the discussion to take whether we want to continue it or not.
That's correct.
Or bring
Yes,
it to
so
a
your
close.
moratorium would actually have a fuse. It would disappear on its own unless at the hearing, the public hearing where you discuss the extension, you decide to extend. It would just simply.
6 months. 6 months sounds reasonable.
And I would suggest that we look at April the 15th.
April.
It's on a Monday.
We look at April the 15th meeting as our, that is the date on which the public hearing would be held. I've got to get it in the newspaper so that people will know when they will have an opportunity to come and discuss whether or not the moratorium should be lifted.
You need a motion to that?
Yes, sir. If I may.
I'd like to add this to the agenda that we set the public hearing for April 15th, 2019 regarding the moratorium with the association with the town of Puckett. So second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I make the motion to approve it. Second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
For the record, that this board does not have to wait until the 15th to
Terminate.
lift the moratorium. You can do that at any time, but this is the process that allows anyone else to speak on the issue of continuing it.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Oster? Anything else, Mr. Slay? Anything else, anybody else? Is there a motion to recess until November the 1st, 2018 at 9 a.m.? By myself, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? Gentlemen, you two down at the end, y'all okay with us leaving?
We're leaving.
Ready?
Yep.
All in favor
We've
say
already
aye. All opposed, like sign. We're done.
Gaines and I have already left.